Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today I am taking a look at what is my favorite chronograph. This is the Lange Sohne 1815 Flyback Chronograph. I just love everything about this watch. I think it was executed absolutely fantastically and flawlessly. From everything from the case to the movement to the dial design, I think it was just done great. So I'll go over the case first, but then we'll get into the fantastic movement and the dial side of the watch. So the case is a 39.5 rose gold or pink gold case. It has the classic Lange design where it has the brushing in the center of the main case, polished lugs, polished bezel. This watch does still have the brand new stickers on it from new, so if you notice any imperfections, those are just the imperfections in the sticker. The case itself will be high polish on all of the lugs. You can see some high polish creeping out there. The bezel is also high polish. Again, that is covered in a sticker as well. But the case finishing is fantastic. If you've seen any Lange, you know what I'm talking about. They are all done with the utmost quality and finishing. So now let's go over the dial. So the dial, as you can see, it's obviously a chronograph dial. You have your two sub-dials between 3 and 5 o'clock and 7 and 9 o'clock. I really love kind of the design they chose with this. I'm usually not a huge fan of some non-symmetric dials, but I just really love this dial. I think it was organized perfectly. I love having just two sub-dials, three sub-dial chronographs. I don't know, it just clutters the dial a bit too much for me. And usually if I'm timing something, it would just be for a couple minutes. It's not necessarily going to be for over 30 minutes, which this one counts up to. So that would be totally fine by me. And then you also can see it as a pulsometer going around the outside of the chapter ring, which I think pulsometers are just so cool, and I think that they're honestly the most useful kind of chronograph extra, I guess, function versus like a tachometer or a telemeter, because I mean, tachometers, it makes sense to be able to calculate your speed, and you think that might be useful, but you need to know the distance you need to travel and be able to find a landmark that's exactly that distance so you can find your speed, just find your speed correctly, which can be very hard to do. When a pulsometer, this just allows you to track your heart rate, which I think is a very cool function. You just start the chronograph and it says graduated for 30 pulsations, so when you count 30 pulses, stop the chronograph, and that's your heart rate. I just think it's really cool, and I actually want to go into the medical field eventually, so this just would kind of relate to me a bit more, I guess, than some others, and I think it would be fantastic to have if you're, say, like a doctor or a surgeon or something. I think that this would be just a great watch. So now let's go into the movement. So the movement is the caliber L951.5. And it is a flyback chronograph movement, so I'll start it here. The pusher action is just fantastic, by the way. It's so smooth and buttery, and there's a nice click in there as well, so you know you're pushing it. You really have to experience it in person to understand what it's all about, but it is absolutely wonderful. And one thing that I don't understand how Lange does it, I don't know if it's just the watches I happen to be looking at it, but it seems like Lange actually times their chronograph secondhand with the little marks on the dial. You can see that it's lining up almost exactly with those little white lines, which I think is absolutely remarkable that they're able to do that, and the fact that they can actually line this up so you can get the exact, I mean, see that it is right on. I've never seen anything like that on another mechanical chronograph, and I think it's fantastic. So you just saw me reset it there. So I stopped it before I reset it, so then it's going to stop. But as you can see, it's also a flyback chronograph, so you don't have to stop it to reset it. And this is great for different uses, particularly for navigational uses. This can be useful in a pilot's watch or something where if you have to time it going in one direction a certain distance, and then you have to switch directions and go the other way. This way, when you go to the switch, boom, you can just reset it and we'll start right up again without having to stop it first, and you'll be right on. So that's the point of a flyback chronograph. This obviously isn't a pilot's watch, it's a dress watch, but it's a very cool mechanism to have in a chronograph, and it just adds a little extra flair to the mechanism. So now let's look at the beautiful caliber. And this Lange's chronograph movements are also finished to the utmost quality. I mean, you can see it's fantastic. They're made out of German silver, so that's what gives it that kind of warmer hue than maybe some movements. And I just think that this is one of the best finished movements out there. I think Lange does the best job, in my opinion, of any of the high-end mainstream watchmakers. I prefer their movement finishing to Patek. I know some of you guys might disagree with that, but I like the style and the way they do it. I think that their chronograph being so exposed and left as a manual wind, I think that was the right move to do, just because it keeps the watch thinner overall, but it also allows you to expose the entire chronograph mechanism, which is absolutely wonderful. So there's the fantastic movement there. So this is a 39.5 millimeter, as I said, so now let's see it on the wrist. So I have about a 7-inch, 7¼ wrist, and this fits mine perfectly. I think 39, 38 millimeters for a dress watch is great. The 39.5 is definitely fine there as well. I'd say it almost wears like a 38 as well. I don't know why I get the sense that it wears a little bit smaller, which I think is just fine. I think the proportions are fantastic for a dress watch. Nice and thin. It's easily going to slide under the cuff of a shirt, and it's very comfortable. It comes on this very high quality alligator strap. You also get this solid gold deployant, which is great. Lange's deployants are fantastic. Great job there, very well finished. So this watch comes in, JB Hudson Jewelers lent us this for the purpose of this review. It is currently for sale. It is for sale for a price of $42,000, which is a crazy amount by all estimation, and it's a very high price. However, I believe that this watch is worth it. The amount of attention to detail in this and the execution of this really can't be matched, in my opinion, unless you're getting into the high-end independent watchmakers or something. I think Lange does a fantastic job with this, and I think it's worth every penny of the $42,000 if you have to spend it. If you're just looking for something, you want a watch that is the best made, you want a chronograph, I mean, this is the one to get. It's flawless. I really love Lange Sohne watches, and I really love this chronograph in particular, and it's been my favorite chronograph for quite a while now. Every time I look at it, I just love it and aspire to own it one day, hopefully. So thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.